Hey, it's Jasper, and today we're talking about gaming monitors. There's so many out there. There's so many different price points, so many different features and specs. It's super overwhelming. And to make matters even worse, there's always new ones coming out. So today we're going to take a step back first and talk about the fundamental features and specs that you should be looking at when deciding what monitor to get. And then we're going to look at 5 or 6 different monitors across a variety of different price points that not only I recommend, but the gaming community loves and third-party independent reviewers also like. And then also, I'll be keeping all the links in the description up to date. So if a new monitor comes out, or if a more premium monitor drops in price and becomes more accessible, I'll be sure to update that. So definitely check out the links in the description. All right, let's get into it. So before we dive into specific monitors, I want to have a framework that we're going to be evaluating them on. So there's 4 specs and features that I think are the most important to look at across all different monitors. And the first one is input lag. This is simply how long it takes for the screen to update with the latest image. And you get it. If someone's shooting at you, you don't want to have to wait 50 milliseconds in order to see the screen update with that. So clearly, lower input lag is better. The next thing is refresh rate. This is how many times the image on the screen is redrawn per second. Standard monitors at 60 hertz. Some of the best gaming monitors are around 500 hertz. And there's a wide variety of other options in between there. So this is really nice because it makes the games feel really smooth if you have a higher refresh rate. But often there's diminishing returns above like 180 hertz or so. So you want to really consider, do you care to spend a lot of extra money to get a higher refresh rate if you're not really going to be able to tell the difference? And then related to refresh rate is screen resolution. I think we all get this. 1080p screens that have about 2 million pixels, 4K screens have about 8 million pixels, 1440 screens have about 4 million pixels. Obviously, there's a trade-off to be had here. Typically, the 1440 screens are the most popular, because it's just really hard to update 8 million pixels at 400 times a second. You need a really beefy graphics card. So there's a nice trade-off to be had between resolution and refresh rate. And typically you're going to find the balance at the 1440 side of things from a resolution perspective, unless you have an awesome graphics card, in which case, hell yeah, go get that 4K screen. All right, and then finally, the last thing is contrast ratio. This goes into the whole HDR side of things. Basically, if you have a screen and there's a dark section and a light section on the screen at the same time, how does the backlight handle that? There's 2 ways of trying to solve for this. The cheaper option is mini LED, where your screen has a bunch of different zones on it, and then it can independently turn the backlight off on these different zones to help make the blacker sections darker. And then the superior technology, but also the much more expensive one, is OLED, which is where every single pixel is itself its own backlight, and it can turn those off individually. OLED is absolutely amazing. It's historically been really expensive, but it's actually dropped a lot in price recently. So we'll be talking about some potential OLED options, and we can get into that in a little bit. And one last really quick note before we get into the specific monitors, thank you for bearing with me, is how future-proof are you trying to make your system, and does that actually make sense? And what I mean by this is you could definitely go buy a screen that's 4K and 400 hertz refresh rate, but if you don't have a graphics card that can take advantage of that, it's just you're wasting money. So should you buy that fancy screen to future-proof your system, or should you just buy a screen that kind of makes sense for your existing capabilities? Obviously, only you can answer this, but what I will say is the price of screens and the screen technology is changing really fast. So if you're not going to get a new graphics card for like a year, it might not make sense to try to future-proof for your screen, because in a year from now, like those screens will have dropped a lot in price, and maybe it makes more sense for you to buy that really nice screen when you actually have the capabilities to do it. So I won't bore you anymore with that, but just want to call that out. Don't waste your money if you're not going to be able to take advantage of the features. All right, now actually, let's get into the different options. All right, up first is our ultra budget category. I won't spend too much time here, but I want to really quickly call this out. There's 2 options, and the first one is this KTC 27-inch monitor. It's got a 1440 resolution, it's got a 100 hertz refresh rate, and it's about $120. You're probably not going to win any competitive gaming competitions with it, but at that price, it's kind of hard to go wrong. It could be a really nice second monitor. And then the other option, if you are looking for higher performance, is the Sceptre 24.5-inch screen. This one has a 240 hertz refresh rate. It does only have a 1080p resolution, but that's still a lot of screen for about $150. So definitely consider that one as well if you're in this more budget category. So moving on up, we have 2 more monitors that are around the $200 to $300 mark. The first one is the Acer Nitro 27-inch monitor. This, again, is a 1440 resolution monitor. It's got a 180 hertz refresh rate, and it has a half millisecond response time. It's only $200, And this is also a lot of monitor for the money. On Amazon, you can see it has a 4.6 rating with about 800 reviews. And on the website rating.com, which is one of the best independent websites to get in-depth monitor reviews, they give it an amazing 8.5 for gaming, which is pretty spectacular given its price. So the other one to consider, which for a little bit more money, is the AOC 27-inch mini LED monitor. Same resolution. The main thing about this one is it has a 1 millisecond response time, so a little bit slower. But the pro for this is you get this mini LED backlight. So if you do care a lot about the HDR content side of things, this is a lot of monitor. And you can see on Amazon, it has 4.6 stars from 17,000 reviews. And on rating.com, it also gets an 8.2, another really strong showing here. So either one of these monitors, I don't think you could really go wrong. Next up is OLED time. So we're going to talk about two kind of entry-level OLED screen, 27-inch, 1440 resolution. They're very similar, but they have kind of their own pros and cons. So the first one is the Dell Alienware one. This one has a higher refresh rate at 360 hertz, and it is also sells for a little bit cheaper, about just under $700. The other option is the ASUS ROG 27-inch screen. This one only has a 240 hertz refresh rate, and it is right at $700 currently. Both of these are widely praised in the gaming community, and on rating.com, which I consider the gold standard, the Alienware gets a 9.2 out of 10, which is an excellent score, hard to beat. And the ASUS gets a 9.0 out of 10, which is also absolutely excellent score. The ASUS does get brighter, so if you're in a really bright room, consider the ASUS. Otherwise, I'd go for the Dell since it has a little bit better vivid colors and it has that higher refresh rate. The moment's here. If I had unlimited money, what monitor would I get? Well, I would probably get the Asus ROG Swift 32-inch 4K OLED monitor. This thing is a beast. It is one of the best gaming monitors on the market. It has a rating score of 9.1, and it costs a lot of money, about $1,300, but it's 4K. It has a 240 hertz refresh rate, a 0.03 millisecond input lag. It just has all the specs and a massive OLED screen. There are a few other monitor brands that have the same panel with slightly different features. There's one from Alienware, there's one from MSI, there's one from Gigabyte. They're all very similar. I'll put some details in the description below. And honestly, I would just choose whichever one is cheapest in your country because they're all so similar. But yeah, this is an awesome panel, awesome screen. Can't go wrong. Just the hardest part is being able to afford it. All right, well, I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll do my best. If you have any feedback for me on how to make these videos better, please be constructive. Let me know. Always try to improve. Try to get this YouTube channel off the ground. So a like, subscribe would go a long way. And yeah, thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next one.